story. The early morning fog crept through the streets of San Francisco like ghostly fingers, wrapping around the sleek glass towers of the financial district. Wayne Bryant watched its advance from his office on the 47th floor of Bryant Technologies headquarters, his reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows showing a man who'd aged well despite the pressures of building a tech empire. At 55, his dark hair had begun graying at the temples, and fine lines marked the corners of his eyes, but his tall frame remained athletic, a testament to his disciplined morning workout routine. The notification sound from his phone broke the silence. Wayne glanced at the screen, a smile forming as he read his wife's message. "Don't forget Travis's graduation dinner tonight, honey. The whole family will be there. 7 p.m. sharp at Le Petit Jardin. Red Heart, Marlene." He picked up the phone to respond but paused as memories flooded back. Travis taking his first steps, his determined expression during elementary school science fairs, and now, finally completing medical school. Wayne's thumbs moved across the screen. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Our boy did good. The familiar ding of the executive elevator pulled his attention away from the phone. Oliver Keller's footsteps echoed across the polished marble floor, each step measured and purposeful like the man himself. Wayne turned to face his CFO and oldest friend, noting the thick stack of papers in Oliver's hands. "Morning, Wayne," Oliver said, his voice carrying its usual calm authority. "Got the final IPO documents here. Everything's set for next Thursday." He placed the stack on Wayne's desk, straightening them with precise movements. Wayne approached the desk, running his fingers along the edge of the papers. 25 years, Oliver. Remember when our biggest concern was making rent for that garage in Palo Alto? And eating something other than ramen noodles, Oliver added with a brief chuckle that didn't quite reach his eyes. He hesitated, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses, a nervous habit Wayne had noticed over their 30 years of friendship. "There is one thing we should discuss, though." Wayne settled into his leather chair, gesturing for Oliver to take a seat. "What's on your mind?" Oliver remained standing, his fingers drumming lightly on the desk. "The share distribution to the kids. Are you sure about those percentages? It's a lot of power to handle at their age." Wayne leaned back, studying his friend's face. "They're not kids anymore, Oliver. Alicia's 32 and running our European division like she was born for it. Sean's got our Asian markets growing faster than our projections. And Travis." He smiled, pride evident in his voice. "Well, he chose a different path, but he's got the same Bryant determination." "That's not what I meant," Oliver pressed, an edge of concern in his voice. "Power changes people, Wayne. Even family." Wayne waved off the concern with a dismissive gesture. "They're good kids, Oliver. While I was here building all this, Marlene raised them right. Besides," he added with a wink, "you've helped keep an eye on them too. You're practically their uncle." Oliver's expression flickered, something between guilt and resignation, but it passed so quickly Wayne might have imagined it. "Right," Oliver said, straightening his tie. "Of course. I should get back to the financial team. They're finalizing the prospectus." As Oliver headed for the door, Wayne called out, "Hey, you're coming to Travis's graduation dinner tonight, right? Le Petit Jardin at 7. "Wouldn't miss it," Oliver replied without turning around, his shoulder tense beneath his perfectly tailored suit. After Oliver left, Wayne turned back to the window. The fog had thickened, obscuring the lower floors of neighboring buildings. He pulled out his phone again, scrolling through family photos. Marlene's last charity gala, Alicia's wedding to Hugh 3 years ago, Sean's engagement party with Crystal last summer. His family's smiling faces looked back at him, a portrait of success and happiness. If he'd looked closer, he might have noticed how Marlene's smile never quite reached her eyes in recent photos, or how his children seemed to cluster together in group shots, slightly apart from him. But success had a way of blinding men to subtle warnings, and Wayne Bryant had been very, very successful. Le Petit Jardin lived up to its name, with ivy-covered walls and twinkling lights creating an intimate garden atmosphere despite being housed on the top floor of a downtown high-rise. Wayne arrived early, watching the restaurant staff arrange flowers and adjust place settings at their private dining room with military precision. "Mr. Bryant," the maitre d' approached with a slight bow, "your family has begun to arrive. Shall I show them in?" Before Wayne could respond, A burst of laughter announced their presence. Alicia entered first, elegant in a navy business suit that suggested she'd come straight from the office. Her husband Hugh followed, his investment banker demeanor softened by the way he kept his hand protectively on her lower back. "Dad." Alicia's heels clicked across the hardwood as she embraced him. "How are those IPO documents looking?" "I had our European legal team review everything twice." "Always the overachiever." Wayne chuckled, hugging her back. "The documents are perfect, just like everything you do." Sean and Crystal arrived next, a striking couple that turned heads even in San Francisco's jaded social circles. Sean had inherited Wayne's height and Marlene's dark eyes, while Crystal's elegant beauty and quiet intelligence had made her a perfect addition to the family. "Wayne," Crystal greeted him with a warm hug. The Tokyo expansion numbers looked fantastic this quarter. Sean clapped his father on the shoulder. "Wait till you see next quarter's projections, Dad. The Asian market is just getting started." The door opened again, revealing Marlene Bryant in a stunning red dress that highlighted her still athletic figure, a testament to her rigorous sessions with her personal trainer. At 53, she turned as many heads as she had when Wayne first met her in college. "Wayne, darling." She kissed his cheek, her perfume familiar and expensive. "Have you heard from Travis?" "He's not answering his phone. Probably stuck in traffic." Oliver's voice came from the doorway. "You know how the financial district gets at this hour." Wayne watched his family settle around the table, their conversations flowing easily. Oliver took a seat beside Marlene, their heads bent together as they discussed the foundation's latest charity event. Sean and Crystal huddled over his phone, presumably reviewing business data. Alicia and Hugh debated European market regulations. The scene should have warmed his heart. Instead, an unfamiliar unease crept through him, like a shadow passing over the sun. Travis burst in 20 minutes late, his medical residence coat hastily exchanged for a sports jacket. Sorry. Emergency at the hospital ran long." He hugged his mother, who smoothed his collar with practiced affection. "My baby." "The doctor." Marlene beamed. "Though I still think you could have joined the company." "Mom," Travis groaned, but his smile was genuine. The evening progressed with the comfortable rhythm of family gatherings. Wayne watched his youngest son accept congratulations and field questions about his residency plans. Travis had always been different from his siblings, less interested in the family empire, more focused on helping others. Wayne had surprised everyone by supporting Travis's medical dreams, much to Marlene's initial disapproval. "Excuse me," Travis said during the dessert course, pulling out his vibrating phone. "Hospital again. I need to take this." As Travis hurried out, his phone slipped from his jacket pocket, clattering on the hardwood floor. Wayne reached down to retrieve it, intending to follow his son. The screen lit up with an incoming message, and Wayne's world tilted on its axis. Group chat. Operation Phoenix. "Marlene, everything's arranged. Once Wayne signs the IPO next week, Roman will handle the rest. A carjacking gone wrong in the financial district. Clean, quick, untraceable." Wayne's finger hovered over the message. Every instinct screamed to ignore it, to pretend he hadn't seen it. Instead, he opened the chat, his eyes scanning rapidly through the conversation. "Alicia, Mom, are you sure about this? There's no going back." "Sean, the company shares will transfer automatically. With Dad gone, we'll control everything." "Travis, what about Uncle Oliver?" "Marlene, he knows his cut. 20 years of being Wayne's faithful CFO while helping me plan this. He's earned it." The messages continued, each one a dagger to his heart. References to offshore accounts. Discussions of share transfers. Mentions of someone named Roman, a name that triggered a memory of Marlene insisting on hiring a new personal trainer 3 years ago. "Dad." Travis's voice snapped Wayne back to reality. "Is that my phone?" Wayne looked up at his son, his youngest child, his baby boy, and saw a stranger. How long had Travis been part of this? Was his choice of medicine really his own, or part of some long game to appear removed from the company? Screen lit up, Wayne said, his voice steady as he handed over the phone. 25 years of business negotiations had taught him how to hide his emotions. "Thought it might be important." Travis's fingers closed around the phone too quickly, his casual thanks, Dad, pitched slightly too high. Wayne returned to his seat, accepting a coffee from the waiter. He smiled at Marlene's touch on his arm, nodded at Oliver's comment about the IPO, and laughed at Sean's joke about Asian market competitors. Each interaction felt like swallowing broken glass. His family continued their celebrations, unaware that their carefully constructed plan had begun to unravel. Wayne watched them all with new eyes, seeing the subtle signs he'd missed before. How Oliver's laugh seemed forced, how Marlene's touches lingered a fraction too long, collecting memories, perhaps? How his children's eyes darted to their mother for cues during certain conversations. 20 years, Marlene's message had said. 20 years of planning his death while sharing his bed, raising his children, building his dream. 20 years of his best friend's betrayal, hidden behind loyal counsel and shared celebrations. The Bryant Technologies building was different at midnight. Emergency lights cast long shadows through empty corridors, and the usual buzz of hundreds of employees had been replaced by the soft hum of servers and climate control systems. Wayne sat in his private office, the glow of multiple monitors illuminating his face as his fingers flew across keyboards. He had built this company on innovation and cybersecurity. It was time to use those skills again. A database search revealed what he was looking for: Roman Gordon. Multiple domestic violence cases that had vanished from court records. Assault charges that never stuck. A pattern of involvement with wealthy women followed by unfortunate accidents befalling their husbands. Wayne pulled up banking records next. Marlene's hidden accounts weren't as hidden as she thought. Not from someone who had built their fortune on finding digital breadcrumbs. Regular payments to Roman Gordon dating back 3 years. Offshore accounts in the Caymans, opened 15 years ago with Oliver's expert guidance. A soft knock froze his fingers over the keyboard. He closed the windows with practiced speed, pulling up IPO documents instead. Working late, Oliver's familiar silhouette filled the doorway, his tie loosened after his own long day. Wayne leaned back, forcing his muscles to relax. Just reviewing some IPO details. Can't sleep with all the excitement, you know? Oliver stepped into the office, his shoes silent on the plush carpet. Anything specific catching your eye? Actually, yes, Wayne said, watching his oldest friend's face carefully. Remember that backdoor contingency protocol we built into the company structure? The one that would let me liquidate everything in an emergency? Oliver's expression remained neutral, but his fingers twitched, a tell from their weekly poker games that had won Wayne thousands over the years. That old thing? We should have removed it years ago. Too risky. Yes, Wayne agreed, his voice pleasant. Too risky indeed. After Oliver left, Wayne returned to his searches with renewed urgency. They thought they knew all his contingency plans, all his fail-safes. Oliver had helped design most of them, after all. But there was one plan they didn't know about. One backdoor that Wayne had built alone, in the early days when paranoia and ambition had driven him to prepare for every possibility, even betrayal from those closest to him. He opened his secure terminal and began to type. Outside his window, San Francisco glittered like scattered diamonds, beautiful and cold. Somewhere in that glittering landscape, his wife was probably meeting with her hired killer. His children were likely finalizing their roles in his murder. His best friend was covering their financial tracks. Wayne Bryant had built an empire from nothing once before. Now he would do it again. But this time, he would build it from the ashes of betrayal. The night stretched on as he worked, his keyboard clicks echoing through the empty office like a digital requiem for the life he had thought he knew. By the time dawn began to paint the sky in shades of pink and gold, Wayne had set in motion a plan that would either save his life or destroy everything he had built. Either way, his family would soon learn that they weren't the only ones who could keep secrets. The morning sun cast long shadows across Wayne's kitchen counter as he methodically spread butter on his toast, maintaining the routine he'd followed for decades. Marlene bustled around him, her designer workout clothes suggesting another session with Roman was scheduled. "You're quiet this morning," she noted, pouring green juice into a travel bottle. "Nervous about the IPO?" Wayne took a careful bite of his toast, buying time to keep his voice steady. Just thinking about all the moving pieces. He wasn't lying, just not specifying which pieces occupied his thoughts. Everything will fall into place. Marlene smiled, touching his shoulder as she passed. The same hands that had typed out his death sentence now offered comfort. I'm meeting with the foundation board later. We should discuss the post-IPO charitable giving structure. Of course, Wayne replied, wondering how many of those charity meetings had actually been planning sessions for his murder. I'll have my assistant set something up. After Marlene left, Wayne stood at the window watching her car disappear down their private drive. The moment she was gone, he pulled out a secure phone, one he'd acquired yesterday through channels his family didn't know about. The first call went to Bryant Technologies' head of security, James Chin. I need everything you have on Roman Gordon. Full surveillance, no questions asked. And James? This stays between us. Understood, sir. What parameters should we? Everything, James. And I mean everything. His next call was to Christine Le. In the 25 years since she'd helped him code Bryant Technologies' first firewall, Christine had risen to become his head of development while staying completely out of corporate politics. More importantly, she had no connection to his family beyond professional courtesy. Meet me in the secure server room. Use the old entrance. And Christine? Don't tell anyone, not even your team. Wayne found her waiting in the windowless room 40 minutes later, her gray hair pulled back in its usual practical bun. Screens lined the walls, displaying the digital heartbeat of Bryant Technologies' global operations. Sir? Christine's eyes widened at his expression. In 25 years, she'd never seen him look like this. I need ghost protocols initiated on all family accounts, Wayne said without preamble. Everything they think they control needs to be shadows. Sir? Christine hesitated, her fingers already hovering over a keyboard. This will take weeks to implement properly. The security implications alone. You have 2 days. She turned to face him fully. What's happening? If I tell you, you become complicit. Can you work better not knowing? Christine's fingers began flying across the keyboard. Already started, sir. 2 days it is. Wayne watched her work for a moment, remembering the young programmer who'd believed in his garage startup dreams. Thank you, Christine. She didn't look up from her screens. Don't thank me yet. This is going to be the coding sprint from hell. Leaving Christine to her work, Wayne made another call, this one to Sophia Shelton. They'd been friends since law school, before he'd made his first million, before she'd dedicated her life to running the country's largest children's charity foundation. Wayne Bryant, Sophia's warm voice carried a smile. To what do I owe the pleasure? Remember when you said I should do more for kids who can't afford computers? Wayne watched San Francisco spread out below his office window. I'm about to make your decade. Wayne, what are you planning? Can't say yet, but clear your schedule for the next few days. And Sophia? Thank you for still being the same person I met in law school. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of meetings and calls. Wayne smiled through breakfast with Marlene, congratulated Travis on his residency offers, discussed European market projections with Alicia, and strategized Asian expansion with Sean. Each interaction felt like swallowing broken glass, but years of high-stakes negotiations had taught him how to hide his true thoughts. Behind the scenes, pieces were moving. James Chin's security team began discreet surveillance on Roman Gordon. Christine's developers worked in shifts, coding the ghost protocols that would turn his family's apparent control into digital mirages. Sophia's foundation lawyers drew up emergency transfer documents. By sunset, Wayne had set in motion a plan that would either save his life or destroy everything he'd built. The irony wasn't lost on him. His family planned to use the IPO to kill him, but he would use it to save himself. Roman Gordon considered himself a professional, which was why he'd been watching Bryant Technologies' parking garage for 3 days straight. He needed to know Wayne's routine. When he arrived, which entrance he used, where the security cameras faced. The fact that his client was Wayne's wife just made the job more interesting. What Roman didn't notice was the black SUV parked 2 blocks away, where James Chin's security team photographed his every move. He didn't see the 3 unmarked police cars that had been positioned strategically around the building. Professional as he was, Roman had gotten sloppy after years of successful accidents. Inside Bryant Technologies, Marlene slipped into Oliver's office, her designer heels silent on the carpet. Everything's ready for tomorrow. Wayne suspects nothing. Oliver looked up from his computer, his wire-rimmed glasses reflecting lines of code. Are you sure about this, Marlene? Once we start. 20 years, Oliver. Marlene's voice carried the weight of 2 decades of planning. 20 years of playing the perfect wife while he built his empire on our backs. You've seen how he treats the kids, like they're just extensions of his legacy. The kids, Oliver sighed. They're still so young to carry this weight. They're stronger than you think. Alicia's been running Europe better than Wayne ever could. Sean's doubled our Asian market share. Even Travis. She paused. Even Travis understands what needs to be done. Neither of them noticed the tiny red light blinking in the office's smoke detector, a new installation that connected directly to the secure server room where Wayne watched their conversation unfold on multiple screens. Christine worked beside him, her fingers dancing across keyboards. Ghost protocol implementation at 87%. All family account shadows are in place. Transfer pathways are prepared. Wayne watched his wife and best friend plot his murder with the same efficiency they'd once used to plan company expansions. Show me the trust structure again. A complex diagram appeared on the main screen, a labyrinth of digital pathways that would activate the moment Wayne entered a single command. Every account, every share transfer, every planned movement of power would become a mirage, while the real control shifted elsewhere. It's beautiful, Christine murmured, admiring the elegance of their solution. They'll think they have everything until the moment they don't. Wayne's phone buzzed, a message from James Chun. Gordon's on the move. Following. Another screen showed Roman Gordon's black sedan pulling away from its surveillance spot. Wayne picked up his secure phone. Stay on him. I want to know everywhere he goes. The afternoon crawled by in a series of meetings where Wayne played his part perfectly. He reviewed IPO documents with Oliver, discussed charity plans with Marlene, and held video calls with his children about their division's latest achievements. Each interaction felt like a scene from a play where only he knew the true script. He caught the subtle signs now, Alicia's nervous glances when IPO timing was mentioned, Sean's forced laughter during strategy discussions, Travis's sudden interest in company governance. The most painful moment came during his weekly one-on-one with Marlene. She perched on the edge of his desk like she had countless times before, her hand resting on his arm as she asked about final IPO details. Everything's proceeding exactly as planned, she said, and Wayne heard the double meaning in her words. Yes, he agreed, covering her hand with his. Everything is proceeding exactly as planned. The most painful part? He still loved them. Even now, Wayne stood in his home office, adjusting his tie in the mirror. The sun was setting over San Francisco Bay, painting his Pacific Heights mansion in shades of gold and shadow. In 30 minutes, his family would arrive for what they thought would be a pre-IPO celebration. What they didn't know was that this dinner would be their last performance as a united family. The table is set, Mr. Bryant, Maria, their housekeeper, announced from the doorway. Mrs. Bryant's favorite china, just as you requested. Wayne nodded, thinking of how many family dinners had been served on those plates. How many celebrations? How many lies? Thank you, Maria. You can take the rest of the night off. But the serving. I'll handle it. Please, take the night off. And Maria? He turned to face her. Thank you for 15 years of loyal service. She must have heard something in his voice because she hesitated before quietly closing the door behind her. The security feed on his tablet showed Alicia and Hugh arriving first, followed closely by Sean and Crystal. Travis came alone, and Oliver arrived last. Always the faithful family friend. Always the careful conspirator. Marlene emerged from the kitchen in a black dress that probably cost more than their first house. Darling, everyone's here. Shall we? Wayne offered his arm, playing his role one last time. They entered the dining room to find their family arranged around the massive mahogany table, crystal glasses catching the light from the chandelier above. Before we begin, Wayne raised his glass, scanning the faces he'd known and loved for so long. I'd like to propose a toast. Everyone lifted their glasses, their expressions eagerly anticipatory. They thought they knew what was coming. Standard pre-IPO excitement, perhaps some fatherly wisdom. To family, Wayne said, watching their faces carefully. To family, they echoed. To loyalty. Was that a flinch from Travis? A flicker of guilt across his youngest son's face? To truth. Marlene's smile never wavered, practiced as any actress. But Wayne saw Oliver's hand tighten around his wine stem. Then he said the words that made Oliver's fork freeze halfway to his mouth. To Roman Gordon. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the city beyond their windows seemed to hold its breath. Who? Marlene asked, her voice steady but her knuckles white around her wine glass. Wayne set his glass down with deliberate care. Your trainer. Or should I say, your specialist in making problems disappear. He turned to face his wife fully. He's being arrested right now, by the way. 20 years of cold cases suddenly got warm. The room erupted into chaos. Marlene's carefully maintained composure cracked like fine china. You're lying, she hissed, but her eyes darted to her phone. Am I? Wayne pressed a button on his phone, and the dining room's hidden speakers came to life with a recording. Marlene's voice. Everything's arranged. Once Wayne signs the IPO next week, Roman will handle the rest. A carjacking gone wrong in the financial district. Clean, quick, untraceable. Stop it, Alicia whispered, her face pale. But Wayne wasn't finished. Another button press, another recording. Oliver's voice. The offshore accounts are ready. Once it's done, everything transfers automatically. I trusted you, Wayne said quietly. All of you. I gave you everything. Opportunities, education, power. And this is how you repay me? With murder plots and betrayal? You don't understand, Marlene started. But Wayne cut her off. 20 years, Marlene. 20 years of planning my death while sharing my bed. Tell me, when did you start hating me enough to want me dead? Hate you. Marlene laughed, a brittle sound. I stopped loving you 15 years ago, when you missed our 20th anniversary to close a deal in Singapore. When you forgot Travis's high school graduation because of a board meeting. When you turned our children into extensions of your empire instead of letting them be themselves. Is that true? Wayne turned to his children. Is that how you feel? Sean wouldn't meet his eyes. Alicia stared at her plate. Only Travis looked up, tears streaming down his face. They pushed me into medicine, he whispered. Said it would make me look less suspicious when they killed me, Wayne finished. Well, I'm afraid you'll all be disappointed. Time seemed to slow in the dining room of the Bryant mansion. The accusation hung in the air like smoke, choking the carefully maintained facade of family harmony. Wayne's words about Roman Gordon's arrest echoed off the walnut-paneled walls, each repetition striking a new blow to their collective deception. Marlene moved first. Her hand, steady through decades of lies, trembled as she lifted her wine glass. In one fluid motion, she flung its contents across the table. Dark red liquid splattered across Wayne's custom-made suit, staining the white shirt beneath with what looked like blood. You bastard, she hissed, her composure cracking like thin ice. You have no idea what you've done. Alicia's chair scraped against the hardwood floor as she stood abruptly. Her face, usually composed through the toughest board meetings, had lost all color. She glanced toward the door, calculation clear in her eyes. Sit down, Wayne commanded, his voice quiet but carrying the weight of authority that had built a billion-dollar empire. Nobody leaves this room. Sean's fingers flew across his phone screen, his Harvard Business School polish giving way to raw panic. The servers aren't responding. Why aren't the servers responding? Because they're not your servers anymore, Wayne replied, calmly wiping wine from his face with a monogrammed napkin. They never were. Travis hadn't moved. The youngest Bryant child sat frozen in his chair, tears rolling down his cheeks in silent streams. The doctor's white coat he'd worn with such pride now seemed to weigh on his shoulders like chain mail. The backdoor protocol, Oliver whispered, his fork still suspended halfway to his mouth. Understanding dawned in his eyes as decades of financial planning unraveled in his mind. You actually did it. Did what? Marlene demanded, her knuckles white against the table's edge. What did you do? Wayne stood slowly, deliberately. Wine dripped from his suit onto the imported carpet, each drop worth more than his first month's rent in that Palo Alto garage. While you were all plotting my death, I transferred everything. The company, the accounts, all of it. As of an hour ago, the Bryant Family Foundation for Children's Education owns 98% of Bryant Technologies, You can't, Alicia gasped, her corporate lawyer mind already racing through possibilities. The IPO has been canceled. Wayne checked his watch with theatrical precision. The press release goes out in 5 minutes. You're bluffing, Sean declared, but his voice cracked on the second word. The board would never allow. The board? Wayne's laugh held no humor. The same board that Oliver's been manipulating for 2 decades? They're being replaced as we speak. Hugh, Alicia's husband, reached for her hand. Maybe we should. Shut up, Alicia snapped, yanking her hand away. This isn't over. We have rights, legal options. Legal options? Wayne's voice cut through her protests like a blade. Let's talk about legal options. Let's talk about conspiracy to commit murder. Let's talk about 20 years of embezzlement. Let's talk about hiring a known killer and calling him a personal trainer. Crystal, Sean's fiancée, pushed her chair back from the table. Her face had taken on an odd, determined expression that no one noticed in the chaos. Oliver started to stand. Wayne, be reasonable. We can't. Reasonable? Wayne's calm finally cracked. Was it reasonable to plot my murder over family dinners? Was it reasonable to turn my children against me? Was it reasonable for my wife of 30 years to plan my death while sleeping beside me? Travis's sob cut through the tension. Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't want. They said it was the only way. The only way for what? Wayne turned to his youngest, the one he'd thought was safely removed from the family's power struggles. The only way to what, Travis? To be free, Marlene answered for him. Free from your control, your expectations, your endless demands for perfection. She laughed bitterly. Did you ever wonder why Travis chose medicine? Because it was the furthest he could get from you without being disowned. And that justifies murder? You murdered us years ago, Marlene spat. Piece by piece, decision by decision. Every missed birthday, every canceled vacation, every time you chose the company over family. You built your empire on the bones of our happiness. So you built your revenge on the blueprint of my murder. Wayne's voice had gone quiet again. How long have you been sleeping with Roman? The question hit Marlene like a physical blow. She recovered quickly, but not before a flash of guilt crossed her face. 5 years, she admitted. He understood me. He saw me as more than just the CEO's wife, the perfect mother, the charity chairwoman. He saw you as his ticket to millions, Wayne corrected. Did you really think I wouldn't investigate him? Did you think I wouldn't find the pattern? All those wealthy women, all those convenient accidents. Sean stood suddenly, his chair toppling backward. This is insane. I'm calling our lawyers. Your lawyers have already been contacted by the SEC, Wayne informed him. Turns out international market manipulation is frowned upon, even in Asia. Alicia's face went from pale to gray. The European contracts. All being reviewed. Wayne nodded. Every deal, every kickback, every shell company. You'll destroy everything, Oliver protested. The company will survive. Wayne cut him off. Under new management, serving a new purpose. Did you really think I'd let my life's work become a murder weapon? A distant siren began to wail, growing closer with each passing second. Marlene's face hardened into a mask of hatred. You called the police? They've been building the case for weeks. Wayne checked his watch again. Detective Saunders is very thorough. She's particularly interested in those cold cases Roman left behind. Travis stood on shaky legs. Dad, please. I'll tell them everything. Just, please. Sit down, Travis, Marlene ordered. He's bluffing. He wouldn't dare. The front door burst open, and Detective Nina Saunders strode in, flanked by uniformed officers. Her gray suit and sensible shoes marked her as someone who cared more about results than appearances. Marlene Bryant, she announced, her voice carrying the weight of authority. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder. As the detective read out the charges, Wayne watched his family's carefully constructed world crumble. Alicia's legal mind finally failed her as handcuffs clicked around her wrists. Sean's international business acumen couldn't find an escape route from this crisis. Travis's medical training offered no cure for betrayal. Oliver, his oldest friend, looked at him with a mixture of respect and resignation. The ghost protocols, he murmured as an officer approached with handcuffs. They were beautiful. I taught you too well. No, Oliver, Wayne corrected him. You taught me just well enough. Detective Saunders had requisitioned a conference room at the precinct for the interviews. Its glass walls offered a view of the San Francisco night skyline, the same lights that had witnessed the Bryant family's rise and fall. Let's start at the beginning, she said, her recorder capturing every word. Mrs. Bryant, when did you first consider having your husband killed? Marlene sat rigidly in her chair, her designer outfit incongruous in the stark police environment. I want my lawyer. Of course. Saunders nodded. But you should know. We have everything. The offshore accounts, the meeting recordings, the deleted text messages. Even your conversations with Roman Gordon. Impossible, Marlene whispered. We were careful. We were always careful. Not careful enough. Crystal's voice came from the doorway. She stood there holding a phone, her hand trembling slightly. I recorded everything. Sean, being interviewed in another room, couldn't hear his fiancée's confession, but he felt its impact when Saunders presented him with transcripts of meetings he'd thought were private. You discussed the murder plans during corporate strategy sessions, Saunders noted, highlighting sections of text. Very efficient, combining business with homicide. Sean's Harvard-trained composure finally broke. It wasn't supposed to be like this, he muttered. Mom said it would be clean. Professional. Dad would never suffer. In a third room, Alicia's corporate lawyer mask cracked under the weight of evidence. The European division was supposed to be mine anyway, she insisted. I built it. I made it profitable. Dad just wouldn't let go. So you helped plan his death instead? Alicia's shoulders slumped. Do you know what it's like? Being Wayne Bryant's daughter? Nothing was ever good enough. Every success came with a new demand, a higher goal, and that justifies murder? No, Alicia whispered. But it made it easier to rationalize. Travis's interview was the shortest. The youngest Bryant broke down completely, confessing everything between sobs. They said it was the only way, he repeated. Mom said Dad would never let us be our own people unless... Oliver's interview was the longest. As CFO, he had the most to explain. Decades of financial manipulation, hidden accounts, carefully constructed paper trails. Wayne was brilliant, he admitted, but he was also blind. He never saw how his drive for success was crushing his family. Marlene came to me 20 years ago, after he missed their anniversary for a merger. She was broken, detective. We all were. So you helped her plan his murder? I helped her prepare for a future without him, Oliver corrected. The murder, that came later, when we realized he would never willingly let go. Crystal's testimony tied everything together. Sean's fiancée had been recording meetings, conversations, and phone calls for months, ever since she'd first overheard Marlene discussing payment methods with Roman. I couldn't let them kill him, she told Saunders, her voice steady despite her shaking hands. Wayne's not perfect, but he doesn't deserve to die. Not like that. Not by his own family's hands. The detective's report would later call it one of the most sophisticated murder conspiracies she'd ever encountered. A family using their own corporate success as both weapon and smokescreen, planning patricide behind boardroom doors. 1 week later, fog rolled across San Francisco International Airport's private hangars, shrouding the sleek jets in nature's own security screen. Wayne Bryant stood watching the weather phenomenon he'd observed countless times from his office, now seeing it from ground level. Headlines screamed across tablets and phones. Tech billionaire foils family murder plot. Bryant Technologies donated to children's charity. IPO canceled as family faces charges. Domestic violence cold cases reopened in Gordon investigation. Sophia Shelton's heels clicked on the hangar's concrete floor as she approached. Her legal pad contained the future of Bryant Technologies, now transformed into something its founder had never imagined. The foundation board is assembled, she reported. We'll make sure every dollar helps kids who need it. Educational programs, technology access, coding camps. And Marlene? The kids? Wayne's voice carried the weight of sleepless nights and endless questioning. Facing charges, Sophia's tone softened. But the plea deals are generous. You made sure of that. Marlene and Oliver will serve time, but with good behavior. She trailed off, checking her notes. Alicia and Sean are looking at supervised release, community service. Travis. The DA's considering immunity in exchange for his full testimony. Wayne nodded, his eyes fixed on the fog outside. 25 years of work, 3 children, 1 marriage, all ended in a single week of revelations. A new set of footsteps approached. Crystal stood there, a small bag in her hand. After her testimony had blown the conspiracy wide open, she'd resigned from her position at Bryant Technologies. "Someone needs to make sure you don't get too lonely on that island," she said, her smile tentative but genuine. Wayne turned to study her, really study her for the first time. She'd seen through his family's deception, chosen truth over loyalty, righteousness over love. In doing so, she'd lost her fiancé but saved a life. "Why did you do it?" he asked. "Record everything? You could have been part of it all. Sean would have made sure you were taken care of." Crystal's smile faded. "Because it was wrong. Because murder doesn't become right just because you dress it up in corporate language and family justifications."
Because.
She paused. "Because I saw what eating dinner with killers did to Travis. How it hollowed him out, made him less than he could be." Wayne's phone buzzed, a message from Travis. "Dad, I'm sorry. When I'm better, when I've earned it, can I come see you?" His thumbs hovered over the keyboard for a long moment before typing. "Always." The fog began to lift as they boarded the private jet. Wayne took one last look at his city, the towers he'd built, the life he'd created, the family he'd lost. The plane's engines hummed to life, promising escape, promising peace. Sometimes, he said to no one in particular, the greatest victory isn't in keeping your empire, but in choosing what legacy you leave behind. Crystal touched his arm gently. "And what legacy is that?" "Hope," Wayne replied, watching San Francisco disappear beneath the clouds. "Hope for kids who need it more than my children ever did." The jet banked east, then south, toward an island where the waters were blue and the past couldn't follow. Where there would be no betrayals, no empires to fight over. Just peace, purpose, and perhaps, with time, forgiveness, not for them, but for himself, for not seeing it sooner. Somewhere over the Pacific, Wayne Bryant finally let himself cry. Not for the empire he'd lost, but for the family that had died long before they'd planned his death. And beside him, Crystal kept a quiet vigil, guarding him as she had when she'd first discovered the plot against his life. The sun broke through the clouds, painting the sky in shades of possibility. Below them, the ocean stretched endless and blue, promising new horizons, new beginnings, and perhaps, someday, healing for wounds that ran deeper than murder plots and betrayal. Wayne Bryant had lost his family but saved his soul, and in the end, that would have to be enough. Epilogue. 5 years later. The California State Women's Correctional Facility stood stark against the backdrop of rolling hills, its concrete walls bleached pale by endless summers. In the visitors' area, Marlene Bryant sat straight-backed in her gray prison uniform, her once perfect manicure now plain and short. 5 years of incarceration had left their mark, subtle lines around her eyes, gray streaks in her hair that she could no longer hide with expensive treatments. "Mrs. Bryant?" The guard's voice carried a professional detachment. "Your visitors here." Alicia stepped into the room, her designer clothes a sharp contrast to the institutional setting. Prison visits had become her monthly ritual, a penance of sorts for her part in the family's fall. "Mom," she said, settling into the plastic chair. "How are you holding up?" Marlene smiled thinly. 3 more years with good behavior. Unless your appeals team has better news? They don't. Alicia's community service sentence had ended last year, her legal expertise now focused on legitimate corporate restructuring. The evidence was too solid. Crystal's recordings, the financial trails Oliver left. "Crystal," Marlene's voice carried 5 years of bitterness. "Have you heard from your brother?" "Sean's in Singapore," Alicia replied carefully. After his supervised release ended, he started a small consulting firm. "It's nothing like Bryant Technologies, but..." She trailed off, remembering their lost empire. "And is he still angry about her?" "Mom, Crystal saved our lives. If the police hadn't been involved..." Alicia shuddered. Roman would have killed Dad, and we'd all be facing murder charges instead of conspiracy. The mention of Roman Gordon made Marlene flinch. Her lover and would-be hitman had not fared well in prison. His fellow inmates, it seemed, took a dim view of men who specialized in killing wealthy women. He'd been found dead in his cell 2 years into his sentence, officially ruled a suicide, though rumors suggested otherwise. Have you heard from your father? Marlene's question carried forced casualness. The Foundation's doing amazing work, Alicia said instead of answering directly. They've provided technology education to over 100,000 underprivileged children. There's a coding academy in every major city now. That's not what I asked. Alicia sighed. He's happy, Mom. The island suits him. Crystal. She hesitated before continuing. They got married last spring. Small ceremony. Travis was there. The mention of her youngest son made Marlene's composure crack slightly. How is he? His medical practice is thriving. He specializes in trauma counseling now, helping people heal from betrayal and family violence. Alicia met her mother's eyes. He's good at it, understanding what drives people to betray their loved ones. It gave him insight. And Oliver? 2 more years in minimum security. The embezzlement charges were less severe than... Alicia let the sentence hang. Less severe than conspiracy to commit murder. Less severe than decades of helping plan her father's death. The guard signaled that visiting hours were ending. Marlene stood, smoothing her uniform with hands that had once dripped with diamonds. Tell Sean. She paused. Tell him I understand why he hasn't visited. And tell Travis. Tell him I'm sorry. For everything. Meanwhile, on a private island in the South Pacific, Wayne Bryant stood on the deck of his beachfront home, watching the sunset paint the ocean in shades of gold. At 60, he looked younger than he had 5 years ago, as if removing the weight of betrayal had reversed time itself. The Foundation's quarterly report came in, Crystal said, joining him with a tablet. Now his wife of 6 months, she had transformed from Sean's fiancée into Wayne's partner in both life and philanthropy. The new AI education initiative is exceeding all projections. Wayne smiled, remembering board meetings and profit margins from his previous life. And the special project? The scholarship fund for children of incarcerated parents? It's making a real difference. Crystal touched his arm gently. Travis says some of his patients' children have benefited from it. The mention of his youngest son brought a mixture of pain and pride. Travis had emerged from the family's destruction stronger, turning their tragedy into fuel for helping others. His trauma counseling practice had become renowned, his insights into family betrayal unfortunately firsthand. Have you read Alicia's latest email? Crystal asked. About her visit to Marlene? Yes. Wayne's voice carried no bitterness now, only a distant sadness. 5 years in prison changes people, though probably not as much as 5 years of freedom. The sound of a small plane approaching drew their attention. The weekly mail delivery was early. That'll be Travis's wedding invitation, Crystal smiled. He wanted us to have it first. Travis had met Sarah, another trauma counselor, at a conference 2 years ago. Their shared understanding of family complexity had blossomed into love. Wayne had never seen his son happier, or more himself. Speaking of family, Crystal said carefully, Sean called yesterday. Wayne turned to face her fully. His middle child, the son who'd followed most closely in his corporate footsteps, had been the hardest hit by Crystal's betrayal of their murder plot. Is he ready? He wants to meet. In neutral territory, Singapore. He's been doing well with his consulting firm, helping small tech companies navigate Asian markets legally this time. Crystal's smile held a touch of sadness. He says he understands now why I had to do what I did. And Alicia's firm? Specializing in corporate ethics and compliance. Ironic, isn't it? She's using everything she learned from our fall to help other companies stay honest. Crystal checked another notification on her tablet. The Foundation just approved her firm for pro bono consulting work with tech startups. Wayne nodded, pride mixing with old pain. His children had found their paths, even if those paths had been paved with betrayal and revelation. Oh, Crystal added, Detective Saunders retired last month. She sent us a letter. She handed Wayne an envelope. She says our case changed how she sees family crime. She's writing a book about it. Wayne chuckled. From tragedy to case study. At least some good came from it all. In his private office at the Brandon Trauma Center, Dr. Travis Bryant finished his last session of the day. His patient, a young woman struggling with parental betrayal, had made breakthrough progress. Remember, he told her, forgiveness isn't about excusing their actions. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of hatred. After she left, he opened his desk drawer and removed a worn photograph, the last Bryant family dinner before everything fell apart. They all looked so happy, so perfect. No one watching would have guessed they were plotting murder over crystal glasses and fine china. His phone buzzed with a message from Sarah. Invitation proofs are ready. Sure you want to include everyone? Travis smiled, typing back, yes, even Mom. Especially Mom. His wedding would be the first time the entire Bryant family would be in one place since the trial. Marlene would attend under supervised release, a privilege earned through years of good behavior. Oliver would be there too, his minimum security sentence allowing attended family events. Sean had agreed to come, finally ready to face Crystal after 5 years. Alicia would attend with her husband Hugh, their corporate warfare days behind them. And Wayne would walk in with Crystal, their unexpected love story a reminder that beauty could grow in the ashes of destruction. Sarah understood his need for this reunion. As a trauma counselor herself, she recognized the healing potential in controlled confrontation. The Bryant family would never be what it was, but perhaps they could become something new, something honest. Back in her prison cell, Marlene Bryant lay on her narrow bed, holding Travis's wedding invitation. The heavy cream paper felt foreign in her institutional surroundings, the elegant script a reminder of the life she'd lost. Her cellmate, a former bank executive serving time for fraud, looked over curiously. Special occasion? My youngest son is getting married, Marlene replied, her voice distant. To a trauma counselor. Ironic, her cellmate noted. Fitting, Marlene corrected. He learned the hard way what betrayal does to people. We all did. She thought of Roman, his grand promises of a new life together ending in a prison cell death. She thought of Oliver, her co-conspirator for 20 years, now serving his own sentence for financial crimes. She thought of her children, Alicia and Sean rebuilding their lives, Travis turning their tragedy into healing for others. Most of all, she thought of Wayne. The husband she plotted to kill now lived in paradise with the woman who'd exposed their plot. The company she'd helped him build now served a purpose greater than profit. The family she'd twisted into conspirators had found their own paths to redemption. Was it worth it? Her cellmate asked, not for the first time. Marlene traced the embossed letters on the invitation. The plotting? The lies? No. She smiled sadly. But the aftermath? The truth? Maybe that was worth everything. In his Singapore office, Sean Bryant ended a video call with Crystal, their first direct conversation in 5 years. His small but growing consulting firm occupied a single floor. Nothing like the towering Bryant Technologies offices, but honestly earned. A framed news article hung on his wall. Bryant Technologies Foundation launches Asian Education Initiative. His father and Crystal's smiling faces looked out from the photograph, their happiness a constant reminder of what his family had almost destroyed. His assistant buzzed in. Mr. Bryant? Your sister's on line 1. Put her through. Sean picked up the phone. Alicia? Did you get Travis's invitation? Just now, his sister replied. Are you really going to come? 5 years is long enough to hide. Sean looked at another frame on his desk. Crystal at their engagement party, her smile genuine even as she recorded their crimes. We all deserve a chance to do things right this time. The sun set over the Pacific as Wayne and Crystal walked along their private beach. She carried Travis's wedding invitation, sea breeze ruffling its edges. Full circle, she mused. From a family dinner that exposed murder plots to a wedding dinner that might heal them. Wayne squeezed her hand. Not full circle. A spiral maybe. We're all in different places now, even if we're coming together again. Crystal stopped, turning to face him. Do you regret any of it? Not the betrayal, that was them. But after? The foundation? Moving here? Us? Wayne watched the waves for a long moment. I regret not seeing the truth sooner. I regret that it took a murder plot to show me what really mattered. He smiled at her. But the rest? The foundation helping thousands of kids? Travis finding his true calling? You? He shook his head. No regrets there. A distant rumble of thunder suggested a storm approaching. But here, on their island, storms were just part of life's natural rhythm, like betrayal, redemption, and the long path to forgiveness. Besides, Wayne added as they turned back toward their home, sometimes the greatest victory isn't in keeping your empire, but in choosing what legacy you leave behind. Crystal finished with him, the familiar words carrying new meaning after 5 years of building something better from the ashes of betrayal. Behind them, the sun sank into the ocean, ending another day in their new life. Ahead, storm clouds gathered, but they carried only rain now, not the thunder of approaching destruction. The time for betrayal had passed. The time for healing had begun. And somewhere in California, in a prison cell, in a trauma counseling office, in a Singapore consulting firm, and in a corporate ethics department, the other pieces of the Bryant family prepared to come together again. Not to plot murder over fine wine, but to celebrate love over wedding cake. It wasn't redemption, not quite, but it was something close, something honest, something earned, something that could only grow in the fertile soil of truth, watered by tears of regret and warmed by the sunlight of forgiveness. The Bryant family saga had begun with a betrayal plotted in darkness. It would continue in light, each member finding their own path to redemption, their own way to turn tragedy into purpose. And maybe that, in the end, was the greatest victory of all. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.